Very good gamers, how are we? This is Games and Chill, and we're in a new video on Morax's legendary build. ZHONG from the Primordial Dragon, ZHONG. And here the editors put there the tremendous edition that I love. It's beautiful, and you even more. Today I think I'm going to make that little attempt that never comes out of shorter build. It's ew. I mean, you guys can see the future and you're watching how long the video lasts, but I'm not. Today I'm going to try to make ZHONG's build quick because today it's very simple. Doesn't take armed geo because you can't really activate it and have a set for no. Activating it is slightly useless. Let's see the constellations, the guns, if it goes live. If it doesn't go live, how really? To this day you can get the maximum potential and all associated variants to its construction. So leave a good like, good bed utility, subscribe, leave a good comment for someone who thinks for enjoying and watching the video on the channel. Thank you for everything. Love and support, remind you that it costs nothing, it is totally free, recommends and positions. The video, it helps a lot to grow. The channel team will be eternally grateful. And there is also a lunar blessing draw every day in every video. So just by giving like, subscribing with bell, commentary for the algorithm and support for free, participate once a day for that bendy. Good luck with the bendy who soon arrive Mavuika Sitlali Alikino, the banner of Nouvelet. Even watching this video is a day before Nouvelet's banner in theory. You know I record the videos a lot earlier, so you don't know what date I'm on. And we're going with ZHONG's legendary build. Enjoy if you are eating, make it very good to leave in the comments that you are eating to learn a little about the culinary delights you delight in. And welcome to Invite the Directs. ZHONG will record, try to see it comes out short because ZHONG doesn't have much anymore. Mystery. It's a support, it's an immortal shield. It's currently the best shield in the game and the game. Lila's and the futures. Lanyan's future when it comes out on 3 are 2 shields that they could approach to compete with ZHONG, but ZHONG remains and is currently Mantus Vianus. Shut up! How heavy the Mantus whines, the ZHONG every time you're playing and talking. The best shield in the game. It is a support and in its day it had variants of ZHONG, vary of some element being some element, kind of weird carry, but at 1.1 when it came out. Well, what do your talents do? That's a lot of text. Well, normals don't go up unless you want some kind of ZHONG variant. Carry Hydro with Candace Furina and some Heater or some ZHONG Pyro with BN Shix or some ZHONG Cryo with Shunyon, Shenhua, Fisher. It's 110.9 because you use your shield. His elementary ability, what does he do? He makes the shield. Basically, if you leave the normal pulsated elemental, you put a pillar and it has a cooldown. Very low. And if you leave the nourishment maintained, you know that you do all this, which is already the dual broken shield. And as you see, these 2 pillars are by the cone, which I now explain the cone. Its elementary ability has no more. It is very simple, and these pulses of the ground are that would activate the Geo armed in case you always make sure you're hitting with these pulses too. The enemies, that is, with good positioning, with the cone, and that these other things do not occur, that I have explained to you in other videos, which usually occur mainly in the Abyss. And they make that against enough enemies you don't always have active the Geo Armada. But whoever makes sure that he can do it in every way possible, because he's a crack placing the pillars is the tremendous aeronautical engineer of pillars then. Obviously, where Geo Armada, his elemental is that and he has no more. The shield is a scaled shield of the strongest, is the strongest of the game and also has a 200% efficiency geo. That is to say that against enemies geo, moreover, it's even stronger. There are few enemies geo, the truth, you know, the wolf, the UFO, for example. That gives us the geo field, which is in fact in the Abyss now, some enemies more, but not too many. More. Finally, if I remember correctly, this is the stake of the shield and this is the damage. With life. Finally, the shield gives you a 20% reduction of resistances to all elements, including the physical, the inside, the anemo and the geo itself to the enemies. I quote these elements because the rest of the elements you know that they exist, because the set of green shade to lower resistances. There is also Shilonen that low resistances of passive form because he drops resistance to everything, literally. And finally, Phil. It's a lot of text. Yes, the elementary one because it's a lot of text. All geo constructions resonate with the pillar. That is, if within this area, that is a little small, there is a geo-construction, for example, of albedo, of the screen. Ningguan, the traveler Geo, the Oni of Ito, that is the Uishi, forgiveness of Ito, that is the bull, or something extra that's supposed to count as a geo-construction basically resonates and causes the pulse to lengthen much longer in the area. That would be nice, in quotation marks, to help you activate the armed Geo, but the constructions. Geo is broken by today's greatest enemies. The truth is that more and more gigantic enemies in the abyss ignore constructions. And once they get close to a millimeter, they literally disappear. But it's interesting. The ulti. Basically the ulti, as you see, the cooldowns are both 12 seconds with him, which is perfectly suited to any kind of rotation, and the ulti already know that. A unique mechanics of Zhongli himself, which is petrification, which is that the enemies, they stay as if they were frozen, but it's called petrified, basically. It doesn't have it's an example, but it has nothing to do with the frozen reaction at all. And besides, as you see here, they stay petrified 4 seconds, and this is interesting to explain. That not a lot of people know, and it's that if you get it, I think it's the C5 that's here, which is the ulti +3, lengthen the petrified, and if you get the C4, that is here too. 2 seconds longer the petrified. That is, you can get to have the enemies petrified. I don't know if it's almost 7 seconds, a real madness, because 7 seconds of petrified without moving is a lot, but it does happen to you. The example is Frozen. The same problem that happens today to many characters related to permafrost. And it is that the more time passes, the more enemies in the abyss, big bosses immune to the CC, with which you can petrify small enemies. But the bosses that today tend to be more than 60–70% of the abyss, you cannot freeze or petrify the bosses today. But, well, it's a nuke. Petrify enemies, cooldown from 12 to 40. Spectacularly low. They hide because it's a battery from the other world, so I'd recommend it with Favonius. Now I'm talking about Favonius and Black Erase it. And that's it. His elemental and his ulti, then why his shield is one of the strongest in this case, the strongest of the game. For its talent of ascension, when the shield ceases to receive, damage strengthens. When a character who is protected by the shield receives damage, its shield protection increases by 5%. Accumulates 5 times, i.e. 25% extra protection. Combined shield if you wear armed Geo, which as I say I do not recommend and do not wear. Shield, which is a stat that exists, that if you do not remember, for there exists the stat of protection of shield, which to this day, because there are not many swires, for neither are the people attentive. Critical damage lives for hundreds and masters, sure you know, but protection. I'm sure you haven't heard of it in a while, and then it's the talent they put in. When Zhongli was buffed, it's basically a talent that you do more damage in proportion to your maximum life. Here the interesting contrast is, in the end, to be an immortal shield, you're going to go full life, and I'll recommend it in this case full life to be a shield, but the damage coefficients real. If you want me to do good damage, they're older going to harm, i.e. with clock, attack, lime and geo, and helmet probability or damage, then this talent is simply 4. Compensate if you're going to go triple life, and that equals more or less the damage because it's half decent. Spoiler! An even more interesting fact about talent in the normal rotation of Zhongli Chero. You don't screw your ulti, it's unnecessary and it bothers you because it's wasting you a lot of seconds. Why? Because you lose like 1.5 seconds in casting the shield, and the ulti, the casting time is a 2.8, and that makes Zhongli in the field steal you almost. It's close to 4 seconds. Between everything you have to do, and that in some rotations of some teams, it delays the rotation and you lose damage by rotation, then unless you have it, see too, that when you throw the ulti, you put on a shield directly, so you don't waste the time to throw away the charged elemental. Is not recommended to throw in the ulti, unless you have a team, for example Hu Tao with Xin Q. That Xin Q gives you 21 seconds of rotation by the cooldown of its elemental, and then you're going to give him time to lose it with Zhongli basically, but usually you won't throw the ulti if it's Chero. With what this talent really doesn't really serve, it's not used, and if it wasn't, I'd make up for Zhongli out there as I say it. It's not recommended right now that it be or bring him to harm, or that it's worth throwing away the ulti for the seconds he steals from you. What's the actual Zhongli rotation? And if you don't jump the Favonius to give particles to the team, then you make 3 quick steps and jumps the Favonius, but mainly with good recharge of energy as your loaded shield goes to. Make more than 1 hit, more by casting the pillar. The pillar itself, as you pull it, will start to leave hits. One of those 3 or 4 hits that you jump in the first 2 seconds will jump the critic, indeed. The Favonius will jump, and then you leave the field, leaving the particles for the next character and an immortal shield. Basically, data S mechanics and rotation. Constellations? Spoiler, I have already explained them, but very easy. The cone gives you 2 pillars instead of 1 would facilitate technically using the Geo Armada, but it's a little complicated because if you throw away the charged elemental, you have the cooldown until you can throw away the second pillar, so the second pillar only appears in the second rotation, and if on the contrary, we throw a fast element without load that has less cooldown, there's still 4 seconds of cooldown which you want anyway. Rotate, and you're not going back in with the cone that gives you 2 pillars, which though technically, you could have 2 pillars to technically activate the Geo Armada. The cone doesn't give you a chance. The C2 is the one that makes it impossible to put 2 pillars in the first rotation, so it is useless. Your ulti gives you a shield without having to throw the charged elemental, with C2 only no longer. You throw away the loaded shield as I just taught, but there if you throw the ulti and it's worth it, and wants it, you throw the ulti or upside down, you put a pillar that you spend half a second just. C2 is pillar ulti quickly, and you leave the field, and there you no longer lose seconds, and in fact you do more. That would be the C2 to help you. To be able to throw ulti elemental or elemental ulti quickly without losing the seconds of elemental. This is the shield, plus 3 to be immortal. This is the ulti has 20% more area and 2 more seconds of petrification that are 4 and 2 6. This is the ulti plus 3 which also increases the petrification time, and this is the Zhongli. I think you've all heard the Zhongli heater, but ladies and gentlemen, Zhongli when? You have the cheeks heals the character protected by a shield in proportion to the damage it receives. So it's Zhongli heater with the cheeks. There's no more. You have made a thesis in your special engineering to place pillars, and you are experts. Then take it to your Armada if you want to risk it. I do not recommend it, the truth. After of so many years playing Zhongli, and I remember that even though they criticize him sometimes, and I consider it less useful than what is inflated in the community as it is for new people. The reality is that I used it from the first day that came out. That is, on 1.1 the first time I came. Not even in a rare run or anything, I took it out the first time he came in, and ever since I used it. And the reality is that the Geo Armada doesn't activate, it breaks a pillar and those things that I explain in other videos, that you don't need to say the bad things about Zhongli today, because it's the will, you have to say the good and how it works. But it's just that the Geo Arm does not activate it. I at least feel like if you want to play more or less fluid, see if you do like this and get high. Perfect and good in some rooms and pulses, but it is that today the enemies make a hit inadvertently, you're torn by a pillar, you're broken by another, you're perfect, you're fighting the enemy. It moves here and suddenly you're fighting here and the pillar is there and no longer activates the Geo Armada. And let's remember what I always said to end as I say, not for anything bad, but because it's actually, the Geo Armada only gives you 3 seconds of buffo. Just 3 seconds away from there. Hit again with your elementary ability, you lose the Geo Arm buffo, 20% attack and 30% shield protection, which is weird, it's inconsistent, and I don't recommend it because you're not. What do you recommend? 2 and 2 of whatever you want. You want more tank, 2 of life, 2 of Geo Armada with 2 of Fulgur that gives you 20% of life. You want more damage because 2 nobles but damage in the ulti, and 2 for attack or damage GOS. You're seeing here 2 that you lack energy to throw away the ulti if it's 2 and you want. Throw the ulti or whatever because 2 recharge, although it is not necessary because the Favonius gives you 30, and remember that the ulti no cost of 40, which is the lowest cost of the game with which they are. Ligo's about 140, which is what gives you the Favonius plus 10, and you already have all the energy recharge. But 2 and 2 of whatever you want, and now how would it work? That is relegated in quotation marks to be a shield and give particles to the team, that is to say that it is a support, and do well what you have to do, with which to this day I would recommend double life and probability helmet to activate the Favonius. But if you have everything very well built and good, probability in its status taking it triple life, as for example, the example of Shilonen with the defense and also the Favonius, because you can lead it triple life as I carry it and enough probability in their status to activate the Favonius. Spoiler, I have little probability. I'd have to try to get more than 65-70, but, well, I activate the Favonius normally because as I have a C2, I throw the ulti, throw the fast pillar to the ground, throw a basic out there wild and always jumps me. I mean, but I'd recommend a little more probability and it's no more likely triple. Life as you see here, life and ready, and is a very good shield plus a battery for the team. And finally, the weapons, what would I have to have? Well, basically to this day ZHONG, if you want it. To cause damage, so to carry it with attack on the clock. Kali of Geo. Helmet of probability of damage. A weapon that hurts you. I don't know who you want, who makes you the most illusion, the Homa. Mainly because the Homa, must be mentioned, is a weapon that serves Hu Tao, but initially the Homa seemed like it was made for Zhongli because it gives him life and such. But well, if you want to hurt him, because it is technically bonus, interesting fact, because the Homa can be led to harm and as you want. Take it not to make Pa 200,000 with the ulti, but really the Zhongli support would recommend it. With Favonius is the best way to help the team. An honorifical mention, I know that many will have heard, or you will even take Zhongli with the black tassel because it gives you more life and that makes more opinion, and it is opinion. Let's say that it has a part of objectivity as creator and a part of subjectivity as a personal opinion after having played Zhongli for 4 years. But it may be opinion. I understand the point that people are if they use black tassel opinion black tassel. It doesn't work in Zhongli. Why? Because it gives you a lot of life, but you lose the chance to generate more particles for the equipment to be more useful to the equipment as a support B, as you have heard. The concept of overheating in some heater is that you're left with the cure that you don't want. Look for more healing because you have leftover Zhongli healing. Let's say it has an overshield over shield. You don't want a weapon that gives you life anymore. I already go triple life. I already have 41,000, it don't touch me anymore. No shield, plus I have the mania that I play a lot without Zhongli I dodge. And neither always. We said that Genshin is not Dark Souls. You don't have to be Jesus Christ to play well Genshin then. Between you sometimes dodging without wanting to between that X doesn't touch you. Or that's me, I already lead triple life, and with 41,000 of life. They don't touch me then, I feel like putting more life into him in exchange for losing the extra particles of the Favonius. Or recharge it to have ulti prime in my case, which is C2. And I can throw the ulti as unnecessary, with which, even if it wasn't C2, I wouldn't recommend the black tassel. I'd recommend wearing it Favonius now that I don't. You have no Favonius, or you have many, but those many are equipped to other characters. They want to use that Favonius. Well, you can bring him a black tassel, but even if it's spread. This popularly, I do not recommend a black tassel. I find unnecessary so much life. And it is a lot. Phil might as well drown because he won't let talk all day.
Huh?
Zend Phil to rest. Please. 24 hours talking gentlemen and now open stream and I'll keep talking alike for the Phil. Recover the voice that would not recommend the black tassel, so I explain to you now that you want it. Wearing Geo Armada and black tassel is what I've seen people wear for whatever, but I prefer to recommend you Favonius 2 and 2 triple life. That is a good support, but complete it otherwise, and not that it is so unnecessary. A shield so strong that you will never be broken is C. Better bring a little more to the team that are the particles of the Favonius, the stats. Well, life will be very easy to overcome the 40,000, and surely you get more if, for example, my case, put 2 pieces of Geo Armada or 2 of Radiance that gives me 20% more life, and if I put it 2 and 2 of 20 of life, 20 of life 40, for I would put myself in 50,000, surely of life, so you can already play with the 2 and 2 as you want, and as I said before, the recharge would basically be between 40 and 50 to have prime ulti with cost of 40. That is if already the weapon gives you 30 and you get 10 in a Zubstat, you put yourself in 140 and you have prime ulti more than enough, and you have to look if you see Favonius. For at least 60 probability for the Favonius to be activated I am missing, and already gives how much out? It lasts 20 minutes. I fucking thought it would last less, guys, and watch the build last half an hour. Minutes, which are deep characters, let's say trending and more used, but good me. Harder than I thought. If lasted me 20 minutes there, you have oldest man disaggregated naked. Completely careful, do not get excited with the Pillar of R, and little more, this is the last build of Zombie there won't be any more, so I hope you enjoy very much those who have come to him. And put you mantos wines for the algorithm that the jongli is noticed to take advantage of every silence. To say now is my sentence, you mantos, and little more if you haven't left like to the video and everything. The rest remember that you are not forgotten, because only for that reason do you participate in a lesson a day. Take care of yourself. Having a very good day doesn't get me kids and Chaito.